This breakup hit Castiel particularly hard. He had never experienced any kind of physical or emotional attraction with any other being before until he encountered Dean. Only recently, in the presence of the humans, did these feelings of pleasure and strife feel so enormous. Until recently, he had never needed to take on a vessel. Jimmy Novak was long since dead. Castiel inhabited his body without competition. As Castiel became more acquainted with the physiology of his host, with its capacities for stimulation and desire, and its depths of yearning and affection, he understood why the angels were discouraged from plummeting into those emotional and sensual caverns. Sometimes, in Dean's presence, Cass felt his vessel tingle with excitement. At first, Cass assumed it was the residue of Jimmy's occupancy that Cass found pleasurable and amusing, but never attributed to himself. It wasn't until after his vessel had been rebuilt that Castiel wondered why that tingle was still there. Only then did he consider the possibility that it might be him generating those tingling sensations, feelings and desires that he didn't know he could have. Repression was a human thing. Cass looked directly at them and analyzed them with the scrutiny of a microscope and was amazed that they were actually his own. He would never let their presence show and always maintained his stoic demeanor. Maintaining a human vessel was awkward enough when he was alone. Trying to comprehend human emotions and motivations was often baffling, especially in the presence of the Winchester brothers. Outside, in the waning light of the evening dusk, Cass felt his chin tremble and his hands shake. Dean's stern face came unbidden to his mind. He let his imagination linger on Dean's green eyes and pouty lips. He wanted to press his own lips against them and feel the scruff of Dean's beard rubbed against his own. Castiel never expected how intense he could feel in his vessel's body until he had lived as a human himself. This body, now his own, scared him with its hunger and longing, its feelings of weakness and abandonment, and its arousal and lust. Castiel reveled silently in the joys of affection and happiness that he had never explored, and was stung by the shame and humiliation of his failures, of social awkwardness, and new levels of moral demands that never occurred to him. He became more familiar with this body's desires. Living in a body changed him. The guys taught him new feelings, experiences that angels didn't normally have. He and the others of the heavenly hosts certainly understood loyalty, obedience, and the moral teachings of their Father. Love, sex, lust, jealousy, and envy seemed to spawn from the body's neurons. Resentment, vanity, pride, all those base feelings and thoughts he once considered pollutants to the angelic nature now became more than just a simple moral choice, but intractable moral dilemmas. These aberrations seemed to have their source in human nature, in their existence. God's favoritism toward the humans perplexed Castiel. When the brothers were sleeping, he pondered God's motives. Why would God favor them? Why would God turn on them? They weren't simple like the angels. They were so complicated. They did indeed bear the image of God in their inexhaustible depths. Most of the angels held the body in derision as unholy. Castiel did too, until he cut himself off from heaven. Cass told himself he did so to stay closer to Dean and better protect his charge. That self-delusion was quickly punctured when he lost his grace and lived as one of them. His attraction to Dean intensified. Cass could no longer deny that he wanted to be near him, and not out of duty. Cass tried to convince himself that he fell from heaven out of empathy and love. He still believed that, but had to accept the fact that there was also some greed and possessiveness mixed into his motives. How could he explain this to Dean? His beloved would cast him off and then call him back, just to send him away again. It tore at Castiel's heart. Now again, Dean sent him away. He had enough. Dean said he was the problem. Cass went willingly. In the last rays of the setting sun, in the near darkness, Cass let the tears that had been welling up in his eyes finally fall and streak his cheeks. With one last sigh, he vanished with a wing flap, promising never to return.